Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I'm sitting here trying to watch highlights of the Orlando Magic. It's like 4 in the morning because my body clock is all the way off. Slept most of the day recovering from working out. But as I'm sitting here watching the Orlando Magic versus the San Antonio Spurs, I realize I can't focus. I can't focus on this game, highlights, because what comes to mind for me is what I know the Lakers are going to do. It don't matter how much homework I do on the Orlando Magic, because the Lakers are going to run small ball tomorrow. And the Orlando Magic whole team 7 feet. That's basically the end of the story. You know, when I look at the Orlando Magic highlights of any game they've played all season long, and even when I look at their names on paper before the season, and I said this in a couple of videos during the summertime, I don't see any logical way the Orlando Magic don't make the playoffs. I legitimately don't. I said that in the summertime. I was like, even though we ain't seen these teams come together, and the last time we seen the Magic, they were a lottery team. With them picking up Paolo Banchero and Bol being completely healthy, and them getting Jonathan Isaac back, even though he's not back, getting Markelle Fultz back, having Franz Wagner year 2, and then all the other pieces that they got on top of that, which are so plentiful. I just didn't see any way that this team wasn't one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. Now, they started the season like you would expect the Orlando Magic to start the season. Like a bad team for the most part. Won a couple games, but nothing too serious. But lately, they're on a 8-game winning streak. And to be honest with you, that's what they should be on. That, on paper, to me, the Orlando Magic could arguably be top 3 talented Eastern Conference team. You got the Boston Celtics, and you look at teams like the Miami Heat, and obviously other teams that you could consider, that come to mind, Philadelphia and all these teams. But if you look at the Orlando Magic, the truth of the matter is, from top to bottom, because they've had so many lottery picks, because they got guys like Terrence Ross, they are pretty much more talented than some of these teams with superstars. In fact, they're more talented from top to bottom than most of these teams with superstars. The issue is all of their talent is young. You consider a player like Paolo Banchero, he could be an MVP one day, but you didn't expect him to come in playing like an all-star out the gate. A guy like Jalen Suggs having injury issues, but he's a lottery pick. You know what I mean? And Franz Wagner's excellent. Like, he could be an all-star very soon. If he were on the team where there were no one there but him, he could average a lot of points, probably already be knocking on the door with an all-star appearance, looking at how he's able to function with all of the other people to feed up there. He's able to get his 21 points with all of these other guys that are looking to shoot and dribble. And the thing about this team is, because they've accumulated so many draft picks, lottery picks, and because they've put an emphasis on length and shot blocking, to now they have defensive players, real legitimate defensive players that, two, play offense because they're superstars and that's what their talent does. So, like, most of their players are two-way and long, 7 feet, all up and down the roster with guard skills. It's like Bol and Franz Wagner coming at you on the break. And you got Paolo Banchero coming at you basically at 260 pounds, at 6'10", and probably still growing. Like, I legitimately think Paolo Banchero, and I've said this on camera, and I think people think, I might be getting a little ahead of myself. Some of them may think that, I'm on point when I say this, but I legitimately think this is one of the most pure scorers in basketball today. He comes into the league as a rookie. It's one of the best pure scorers in the game. And I really, really see that in his game. His game is so incredibly refined on the offensive end. It's incredibly refined. I mean, the boy can do pretty much anything he wants to. And then when you look at his defensive game, they say that's his weakness, but I see him making plays left and right defensively. Like, I watched him make plays with my own eyes. So it's like, if he needs some coaching to help him be in better position more consistently or things like that, that's going to come. That's going to come. You ain't got to worry about that. So as far as I can tell, that's another top 5 player in the game as he develops. Like, there's no question about that. He's coming out dominating immediately. So I think Paolo Banchero might actually be underrated at this point. He might actually be underrated. And then you look at the players around him. It's like we always say, the players, are only as good as the players on the floor with. But if you look at everybody who's on the floor with one another, they all have size. They all play D. They all look for one another. They all pure shooters. They're all able to do what is necessary. And then you look at them, they keep coming. A guy like Wendell Carter's been out for a couple weeks. That's an all-star level center. You got Mo Bamba, who doesn't even have a full rotation role. We need him to be our starting center. You look at Bol, as I said, who has guard skills. We know what he can do. I've been telling people about him for years. The last place he needed to land was on a team with a bunch of 7-footers. You know what I'm saying? Like, gee, all the teams that don't have size, hello, we could use 2 of those players. It wouldn't even hurt them to lose those players in terms of the size, and they would change our entire season. And the optical illusion about that whole situation is that you would think that the Orlando Magic aren't a good team. You know what I'm saying? But they got 2 players that if they were to just give them to us, they'd probably give us an opportunity to reach our goals, basically, to be completely honest with you. So when you consider who's going to come out of the East, when you consider who actually has a chance to contend, the Orlando Magic are not going to come to mind because you're looking at all their kids through the lens that young players can't win. Experience ain't going to get you far if you don't have it, that kind of thing. But what you're going to end up finding out with the Orlando Magic is once they put their second units on the floor against pretty much anybody, they're still going to be able to eat because all those players are tall and talented too. When they put their second unit guards on the floor, those guards are starting level guards playing with rim protection at all times. So you look at what Cleveland has, right? For example, and you say Cleveland, you expect them to continue to do good things if they can get it all together because of that rim protection and because of those guards. But what you don't realize is the level of rim protection, the level of guards the Orlando Magic have is the same level. It's just that they're underdeveloped. You know what I mean? I look at a guy like Darius Garland. I don't know that Suggs can't turn into just as good as Darius Garland. I don't know that Cole Anthony can't turn into something just as good as Darius Garland. It's just a matter of them getting there. They've had injury issues, but they were drafted just as high. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, and then you look over at Donovan Mitchell. It's like, I'm not sure that neither one of those guys are going to be as good as Donovan. Both of them are drafted in there. Like, Donovan was, what, the 13th pick? These guys, you know what I'm saying? Same. And then you look up at Evan Mobley. Are you sure Paolo Banchero and Evan Mobley are not as good as each other? Allen, are you sure, Bol can't develop into something as good as Allen or Wendell Carter ain't as good as Allen? And then you keep going down further down the bench. When you start talking about some of the other players Cleveland has, like Dean Wade, they ain't got no Dean Wades in Orlando. That's Chuma Okeke. Those are guys who are a little more higher level. That's Jonathan Isaac. You understand what I'm saying? Players who, that's Markelle Fultz, another lottery pick. So I'm saying to people, when these teams run in to the Orlando Magic in a 7-game series, if the Orlando Magic find a way to play mature, unlike teams like Memphis, you know what I mean, who just get to those spots but they're not quite there. If they can somehow not be like that, they can actually beat some of these teams. I ain't saying they're going to win the East because that's hard. You know what I mean? It takes more than what it takes on paper to win. But what I'm telling you is they just beat the Celtics twice in the regular season, albeit, but they just beat them twice in a row. And they beat everybody else that they came up against as well over the last 8 games. I don't see any reason for that not to be able to continue, because what they're doing is all of this still missing players. Isaac's still out. As I mentioned, Okeke, I believe he's still out. And they just, like I said, Wendell Carter just came back like 2 games ago. And there's another player in this situation that they mentioned in the article I read that's out as well. So they're still not all the way healthy, and they're still not all the way developed. You're looking at year 2 for some of the best players on their team. So it's like year 1 even for their main guy, Paolo. So with him and Carter, Franz, and Bol, that kind of talent and size in a 7-game series against literally anybody, I don't know who's going to beat them. You know what I mean? It's in the Eastern Conference. I look at the Boston Celtics. I say, yeah, they got Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Marcus Smart, and all those guys, but they got a lot of miles on them now in comparison to this Orlando team. Not to say that mileage would bother them against anybody else, but when you're talking about a bunch of fresh puppies and guys who've come back from injury, who've had an opportunity to rest from their injury because everybody in front of them so damn good, that's the situation in Orlando. It's like the great antithesis to the Lakers. The Lakers got to lean on three people because they can't. You know what I'm saying? There's no way for them to succeed without those players being successful. Orlando has all of their money diversified amongst a bunch of rookie contracts, and a few guys like Gary Harris that are on contract, but like everybody else is on a rookie contract, yo. Mo Bamba's on a contract, but nah. Everybody they got running around, they got picks on top of those players too that could bring in. They could win the lottery if they decide to tank somehow and get Wembanyama. So this is the situation with the Orlando Magic where I legitimately think we're seeing the beginning of something that could possibly be a dynasty. And I'm not talking about nothing minor. I'm talking about real legitimate ring. And the reason why is because they have so much depth. They have the bird rights to a lot of those players. And they're only getting better, and they're all extremely tall. And because they're extremely tall, I don't know how many teams are going to actually be able to match up with that over the years. I look at the Pelicans. They'll probably be able to do it. Detroit's going to have a certain level of talent. I think OKC's talent is going to balloon to that level. And as long as you got Giannis on your team and Joel on your team, I think you're going to be in contention regardless. But those guys are going to start to get old, and this Orlando team is not. And if they can keep their main players on this team with their bird rights, and they can keep, good role players around them, that core 6 players or 7 players, you're not going to be able to stop them. You're not going to be able to stop them. And so that's what I see there. I see them building something that could be very, very dominant, is what I'm telling you. Like, dominant. And it's not about it's not about necessarily looking at superstars on these certain teams that are around, because at the end of the day, that's not what's going to make Orlando dominate. It's going to be size. It's going to be depth. The fact that their second unit is going to be a bunch of starters with young, fresh legs. That's the problem. And nobody else in the league that I can think of actually really has that. Nobody. I mean, nobody. Only OKC and Houston are the teams that come to mind with that much depth. And why is that? Because they've been stockpiling picks. I keep telling people they've been stockpiling picks, and a lot of what people perceive as depth is not actually depth, because they've been undervaluing young players and overrating older ones. So they've been stockpiling themselves with old names of old role players and guys that have done it already. I hear the Nets trying to go after Carmelo Anthony. This is the type of stuff I'm talking about. And when the Nets run into the Orlando Magic, you know what's going to happen? They're going to get ran out the gym, because they're going to run into second units. We're going to have young, fresh legs that jump out the gym going up against their Carmelo Anthony's. It's not going to work, man. It's not going to work. And that's what I'm trying to express to everybody. If you're going to build forward, you got to be able to match up with these teams that have been stockpiling picks for the last 7 years, because they're going to have the stars of the future, and they're going to have their bird rights, and they're going to have several of them on top of each other. All of us, these teams, been trying to build super teams. What are they doing? Building super teams. Literally. But sustainable ones that last for like 7 and 8 years, because the stars are homegrown. They have their bird rights. They all are, as I said, they've all stockpiled height and length. So now it's like, if you can't match up with that, and it's going to take time to match up with that, they're just going to run through the league in the meantime. And that's the point. In the meantime, while y'all trying to figure out how to match up with them, they're going to be pushing past y'all. See how that works? And this is why you don't ever forego your future, because what you can't see is what the future is about to be. You can't see that when you do that move. You don't know that the league is going to start becoming something that, if you don't have a bunch of picks piled the hell up with a bunch of lottery players, that you're not going to be able to compete. Depth is going to be the only thing that works. And you're going to see it that way too, because it's going to be the teams that don't have any depth, that have all pushed their players and their money into 3 players, that are going to be the bad teams. And we're seeing that as we speak. We're seeing it now. The Nets are going crazy right now. Why? Because everybody's healthy. One rolled ankle, they could tumble right back down the standings. It doesn't work, man. You see what happened with the Lakers 2 weeks ago? We looked like the best thing ever because Anthony Davis and Braun were healthy. Boom. Anthony goes down for a month. We can't win a game. Team like Orlando, Wendell Carter goes down. They go on an 8-game winning streak. Why? Because Paolo Banchero's just come back at the same time, and it doesn't matter. It's depth, man. Depth and youth. And what do you see? The beginning stages of that. Why? Because everybody's just getting started. That's the point. They didn't trade all that stuff for Kevin Durant 2 years ago, even though that made a lot of sense because that would have been so great for them. But now look at where they're at. See what I'm saying? Maybe they would have won a championship 2 years ago too. But they wouldn't have had all this. And now they're in a position to get the next 7, 8 championships if they continue to stockpile the way they've been stockpiling. So it's like, yeah, if they do strike it with Wembanyama, they probably will win the next 7 championships. Like, I'm not kidding at all. Because it's that him, Bol, and Paolo Banchero are not going to be stopped by anybody. You can't get players together to match that up. There's nothing out there. You see what I'm saying? Same thing with the New Orleans Pelicans. You match Zion and the Wembanyama together with B.I. There's nothing out there to stop that but the Magic. That's the only team that can match them. You see what I'm saying? Like in OKC, depending on how their players develop. And I look at the Houston Rockets as well. And again, Detroit is a team that I'm paying attention to, depending on if they can continue to stockpile and seeing what happens with Cade Cunningham. If he goes in the right direction, it'll be fine. But right now, it's looking a little scary. So, yeah, man, the Lakers need to see exactly what I'm talking about. This is the point of me making this video. Not to prep us for the Orlando Magic. I'll do that later. I did this to say, I'm looking at what the Magic have put together, and I know exactly how they did it. They did it by saying about 7 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago, maybe 7 years ago, we want to be able to block shots. That was it. It was literally it. And I remember telling people about this when I first started the channel. I'm like, yo, Orlando has an affinity for length, and they are going to win if they keep on this path, because they're eventually going to stockpile the type of talent that allow that to dominate. And when they do, I figured it would look something like this. Because the players who can block shots just inherently have to be able to shoot the three in this era. See what I'm saying? It's like they're not gonna be bringing in stiffs that can't do anything but block shots. No, they're gonna be looking, as they lose every season, to target the best lengthy guys, and that's exactly what they've done. And now here we are. Here we are in a space where I legitimately think they could be the best team in the Eastern Conference right damn now. Right damn now. I don't know that this doesn't sustain, you guys. It's going to be health that gets in their way. If anything, Wendell Carter is good enough to help them hold down the front court without a Franz Wagner. It's what they can sustain if they take on injury that should scare people. Jonathan Isaac is somewhere getting healthy right now. He don't even have to come back this season. If he played for the Lakers, they'd be rushing him back. And this is another thing that made me turn on the camera in regards to the Orlando Magic. There are a lot of players around there that say they're about winning. I want to win. All I want to do is win. All I really want to do is win. I'm going to tell you, if those players are serious about winning, like in real life, in this ecosystem, do you know what they're actually going to do? They're going to take a massive, humongous pay cut, and they're going to join one of those young teams. Hey, young fellas, you got room for one more? That is what you're going to do. LeBron, KD, just like Chris Paul joined the Suns in that regard, that's how it has to be. That's how it has to be. Because if you're going to join each other, y'all can get run out of the gym by one of these teams. That's what I see coming. Y'all bodies ain't going to be able to hold up against the Paolos and the Mobleys and the Scotty Barnes. That's not going to happen. It's going to be a bunch of y'all trying to flex as if it's the old league, and y'all ain't going to be able to touch these boys. You're going to need some of these boys on y'all team. Facts. No way around it. If I'm KD at the end of this contract, or if I'm LeBron at the end of this contract, I'm joining one of those teams. Or I'm going to stay at the team I'm at if I feel like I got the longevity to do it, and I'm going to make it so that the team I'm on is one of those teams. That's what has happened. If I'm LeBron James, I want to stay with the Lakers. We got to trade everything we can for picks, and we got to start becoming one of those teams. I'm telling you, it's the only way. And obviously he ain't got time to be waiting on all that, but that is exactly how he's going to compete. It's either that or take a $5 million deal with the Orlando Magic. That's how you actually win, dude. That's how you actually win. Because right now, as far as I can tell, ain't nobody going to win nothing if you're not one of them teams. If you're not New Orleans or something, you ain't going to win nothing. You're not going to win. They've already put together what they need to be able to dominate now. That's the way I see it. They've been stockpiling these picks and putting together different stuff from teams that have been mortgaging their future for the last several years. Now it's time to ride out. We wasn't seeing the play. We were trying to go all in for yesterday. They were going all in for tomorrow, the day after that, the day after that, the day after that. They're building something that's sustainable, you guys. Something that's going to ensure that if we build a little Zach LaVine type team, we ain't going to never get off the ground. That's what they're building. And it's like, because you know that, it's like, well, you build something too. If they're going to be further down the timeline, say they're going to be looking to win the 2027 championship, and we just won the 2020 championship and we suck at 2022, then we need to blank our canvas and try to shoot for 2029, 2028. And then from there, you make sure that what you got in 2028 can last to 2034, rather. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's how you got to think. Yeah, don't say, okay, we can get us a championship 2020 next year. Let's just full mortgage our future for a championship. And then whatever happens after that for the next several years, we could suck. It doesn't matter because, we're not worried about that. We'll cross that road when we get there. That's exactly what this regime did to us, Laker fans. We'll cross that road when we get there. And now that we're there, they just hiding. Basically, they're saying, you knew we were going to suck. We did this for 2020. Now suck. Enjoy it, fans. We're not doing nothing else for you. We did that. It's like, that reflects poorly on you, right? Genie, essentially what you're saying is all we wanted to do was something for yesterday, and now today we just kind of want to take your money. And friends, I'm telling you, that is not what the Orlando Magic, the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Houston Rockets, the New Orleans Pelicans, the Detroit Pistons are selling their teams. It's not. And San Antonio and Indiana ain't too far behind them, and a few others as well. And what they're selling their teams, they're selling them a future. They're going to sell them something actually worth watching, something you're going to want to see on your team that ain't going to be there because they mortgage everything for a quick championship, but now just hiding and don't want to tell us that this is what they feel we deserve. So that's how I'm looking at it, man. If people cared about their fans and if they cared about their business, they would look at what Orlando's doing and do the same damn thing. They look at what Presti did and look at what the Celtics did and do the same thing. That is how you build. Why? Because that is how they built. Simply put, if you go and skip the steps that they didn't skip, then you ain't going to have what they got. That's how it works in life all the way around. So that's pretty much what I got to say about that, man. Even though this is a video about the Orlando Magic, it's directed to my Los Angeles Lakers fan base because we're going to see the Magic today, and there's not going to be a whole lot of things that we could do to help ourselves matchup-wise against this team. It's not a whole lot you can do. This is one of the most useless games to watch there ever was. Because if the Magic even play half to their level, and if even half of their players are in rotation, with what it is that we're running out there, they should be able to have fun beating us. It's the truth. We could break down the last 7 to 8 games Orlando Magic played. It doesn't matter. Because if you run out there with Dennis Schroeder and Patrick Beverley and play them for 30 minutes against these 7-footers, the game is going to be so lopsided, you're going to feel embarrassed to watch it. And the only way that doesn't take place is if the Orlando Magic completely decide not to play properly. They got to wet the bed to lose to this team tonight. So I'll break it down. I'll make a video for you guys. And it's going to be just as pessimistic as this because some things are not about effort. Some things are about height, science. And what we have on the floor can't match up with these guys if we're not going to give ourselves an opportunity at those matchups. And lately, we haven't even tried, let alone been successful. So we're reaching the Kobe minute. And honestly, I think I'll leave the video there, man. I'm saluting Kobe on the sign out. BDL 44. Thank y'all for watching. I'm out.